shouldn't be pet owners. Either they're inexperienced or they're just bad owners in general. And unfortunately, because of these bad owners, a lot of pets have been given bad names. One of the dogs most commonly victimized by bad owners are pit bulls. Now, misunderstandings about pit bulls have gotten wildly out of hand in the past few years, and some very serious legislative movements have been made against these dogs. Something really needs to be done about this. And the first step is raising awareness about these dogs. Now, knowing what a pit bull is, knowing the facts behind pit bull myths, and then knowing about these legislative movements can really make a difference. About pit bulls. The first thing you should all know about a pit bull is that pit bulls are not a breed of dog. Pit bulls are not a breed, so it's a very general term for a dog who is a mix of what they call an American Staffordshire Terrier, American Pit Bull Terrier, or Staffordshire Pit Bull. So if any dog is included with any of those mixes in it, then it's considered a pit bull. In more recent times, pit bulls have also been considered boxer mixes and bulldog mixes, which creates a lot of problems because pit bulls, you can't necessarily identify one by looking at it because they're typically mutts. There's not a set color to pit bulls, there's not a set nose color. Commonly you'll have pit bulls with cropped ears, but that was something that the gangs did because it makes pit bulls look mean, and it also protected their ears when they were dog fighting so that they didn't get ripped off. So though a lot of people think that cropped ears means the pit bulls more and more do not have those cropped ear looks because it's not practical. Some of the myths behind pit bulls are the fact that they're fighters and killers. Pit bulls, though they are designed and they look like fighters, they're really not. No dog chooses to be a fighter. You have to train your dog to be a fighter dog, to be a guard dog, to be a dog that goes after. It's just like with your German Shepherds and your Rottweilers. You have to train those dogs to do what you want them to do. And a lot of times pit bulls are abused to get them to fight, which gives them that even tougher, meaner, scarred look, which is why people are so afraid of them, because they look mean, and they have all this belief that these are killing dogs. A lot of people, if they don't think the pit bull is going to kill them, they think it's going to bite them. Now, the National Canine Research Council did an experiment, and they found that pit bulls are no more likely to bite you than any other dog. Dogs will bite depending on a situation. If you put the dog under pressure, some dogs are more likely to bite than others. However, pit bulls are no more likely to bite than any other dog. A lot of people think that pit bulls have really dangerous bites as well. But Dr. Barr, a specialist on pit bulls, found that a pit bull bite is less strong than a German Shepherd bite and a Rottweiler bite. So pit bulls don't have as strong a bite. Though they have a strong bite, it's not as dangerous as everybody thinks. Pit bulls also are accused of having what's called a lock jaw, which means when they bite onto something, their jaw locks and they won't let go. You have to essentially smash the jaw to make them let go. This is not true. No dog has an enzyme that releases into their jaws and locks it. They're not snakes. They can't do that. It's just a myth put behind the dog because they're so strong that people create this fear around them. Not only do people think they're biters, but people think that they're vicious. But the American Temperament Testing Society has records on all of the different dogs that are typical pets in America. And your pit bulls and mixes of pit bulls pass 75 to 90% of the time they pass this temperament testing. Chihuahuas and dachshunds pass maybe 70% of the time. And your smaller dogs, like your wired hair terriers or rat hair terriers, can be as low as 40% to as high as 70%. So as far as temperaments go, pit bulls and pit bull mixes and dogs that you find in pit bulls, they have some of the best temperaments and personalities that you can actually find in a dog. Now, these myths are all because of the owner. Owners can train their dogs to be biters, to be fighters. It's not actually the dog who does this. If you train your dog properly and you know what your dog is like, then you can take the proper measures, and your pit bull doesn't have to seem vicious. It can seem just as friendly as a golden retriever, and it's all on how you train them. Now, because of these bad owners and people who use pit bulls to fight, what's called breed-specific legislation has been passed throughout the states and in many different cities. Breed-specific legislation is when you put very typically bans on different breeds of dogs. Now, there are over 200 breeds of dogs that have different bans on them in different cities and states, pit bulls being some of the most common. The problem with breed-specific legislation is that it's proven not to work because people, instead of being taxed and having to give away their dogs, they'll just let them be strays. And that's more stress on the town and the state because now they have to pay to round up these dogs. So it's creating even more of a problem. Now, in Colorado, almost the entire state has become anti-pit bull. There's very, very few places that will allow you to have a pit bull. In Denver, Colorado, they have a legislative movement is banning any pit bulls or pit bull mixes. And this is their definition of a pit or a pit mix. They are any dog that is an American Pit Bull Terrier, an American Staffordshire Terrier, or a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, or any dog displaying the majority of physical traits of any one of the above breeds, or any dog exhibiting those distinguishing characteristics. Which means not only if your dog is one of those mixes, is it considered a pit bull, but if it looks like one of those dogs, it can be considered a pit bull. Now, unfortunately, boxers look very similar to certain pit bulls. So you may have a boxer mix, and that's going to create problems because if you don't have the correct papers proving he's a boxer, the police can take him away from you, fine you for having a pit bull, even though it's not necessarily a pit bull. And this isn't just a problem in Colorado and in Denver. It's coming here to Connecticut. Waterbury is currently trying to pass a legislative movement banning pit bulls from the city, which means no shelters, no rescues, no houses, no strays. Pit bulls will not be allowed in Waterbury. Your pit bull will be taken away from you. You will be fined. The pit bull will be euthanized. Now, these dogs aren't bad dogs. It's all down to the owner. A dog is only as bad as its owner. If you train them properly, then there should be no problem. Dogs shouldn't be punished for something they didn't do. Pit bulls didn't choose to be fighting dogs or to look mean. That's what society has created. That's the image that we've given them, even though they're really sweet dogs when you get to know a pit bull. Knowing what a pit bull is and the fact that it's not a breed, knowing that these myths that people create about the vicious pit bulls is not true, and then knowing about all these legislative movements, it's really an unfair motion. The whole thing with pit bulls is you want to punish the deed, not the breed. Punish the people who have bad dogs. Don't punish the dogs. They never chose this.